meeting. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Mary Ridgway from Federal Highway. She's going to do our opening remarks. Thank you very much. Oh, please don't clap. It's fine. So yeah, okay. All right, cool. So I'll just move this. Okay.
Wow, that was great. It's hard to follow something like that, but I am going to throw my cell phone away because I don't want to be throat punched by Pam. So. It's gone. It's gone. It's a great turnout, and I have to thank DelDot for inviting us here today. I mean, it really does reinforce the partnership that we have. A lot of states don't have this kind of relationship with their states, so we really do appreciate it. We just wish you wouldn't have it on a federal holiday every year. That's okay, because we're here. I've got Dan Montag with Federal Highway. Dan, raise your hand for the one person that doesn't know you in the audience. Okay. So thank you for that. And for anybody that doesn't know, last Monday, President Trump released his infrastructure plan. And I thought if anybody was thinking about reading it, I would save you the time of reading it and kind of hit the highlights for you. So here goes. It's, it'll only, is the countdown clock. That's weird. This should only take about an hour. So might want to slow that clock down. It's called Building America's Infrastructure, and it's based on 6 principles. And kind of remember that this is just the first step. There's a lot of committees that have to come up with a plan. The Senate, the House have to write their own bills, and they have to combine them and agree on it. So the good thing is we're starting early and we're talking about it. Infrastructure is on everybody's mind. But the first one is stimulate the infrastructure investment, investing $200 billion in federal funds to spur at least $1.5 trillion in infrastructure through partner financing at the state, local, tribal, and private level, focusing on rural America, returning authority to state and local governments. You guys ought to like that one. Reducing regulatory barriers, streamlining and shortening the permitting process, supporting and strengthening America's workforce. Okay, so the stimulating infrastructure investment. The idea is to take federal infrastructure spending that will promote state, local, and private investments and maximize the value of every dollar. Of the $200 billion, $100 billion will create an incentives program. I guess kind of like Tiger. The applications for the incentive program will be evaluated on an objective criteria, creating additional infrastructure investment being the largest factor. Also, it's going to promote accountability, making federal funding conditional on projects meeting agreed upon milestones. $20 billion will be dedicated to the Transformative Projects Program. This program will provide federal aid for bold and innovative. So you guys are right there. I think you've heard about innovation. I think like your secretary talks about it every now and then. These projects that have potential to dramatically improve America's infrastructure. It'll focus on projects that could have a significant positive impact on states, cities, and localities, but may not attract the private sector investment just because of some of the unique characteristics, the risk involved. $20 billion also will be allocated to expanding infrastructure financing programs, like the TIFIA that's helping with the 301 project. Of the $20 billion, $14 billion will go to expanding a number of existing programs like TIFIA and rural utility lending. $6 billion will go to expanding private activity bonds. $10 billion will go to a new federal capital revolving fund, which will reduce inefficient leasing of federal real property, which will be more cost-effective to purchase. And I just saw that we're going to be buying our headquarters in Washington, D.C. We lease it right now, so we're going to buy that. A new fund will allow some incremental revenues from energy development on public lands to pay for capital and maintenance needs of public lands infrastructure. Okay, investing in rural America. $50 billion of the $200 billion in direct federal funding will be devoted to new rural infrastructure programs to rebuild and modernize infrastructure in rural America. Wow. Okay. So I have 45 minutes left, right? Is that right? The bulk of the dollars in the rural infrastructure program will be allocated to state governors, giving states the flexibility to prioritize their community's needs. The remaining funds will be distributed through rural performance grants to encourage the best use of taxpayer dollars. Okay, increasing state and local authority. Funds awarded to state and local authorities, such as through the incentives program and the rural infrastructure program, will be allocated to infrastructure projects they prioritize. This empowers states and localities to make more infrastructure investment decisions and prioritize projects based on the needs of their community. I'm kind of wondering if we're going to have a job. The plan will expand processes that allow environmental review and permitting decisions to be delegated to the states. And I think everybody's probably aware that several states have taken that on, where they're totally responsible for environmental impact statements, environmental assessments. The plan will also allow federal agencies to divest assets that can be better managed by state or local governments or the private sector. Okay, eliminating regulatory barriers, touchy one. Provide more flexibility to transportation projects that have minimal federal funding but are currently required to seek federal review and approval. Incentivize the efficient development and management of water infrastructure, in part by providing more flexibility to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers in its process. And we hope that goes the right way. Streamline permitting. The plan here is to establish a one agency, one decision structure for environmental reviews. I think that would help a lot. Shorten the lengthy environmental review process to 2 years while still protecting the environment. Eliminate certain redundant and inefficient provisions in environmental laws, and create 2 new pilot programs to test new ways to improve the environmental review process. Investing in our country's people is the last one. This would reform federal education and workforce development programs to better prepare Americans to perform the in-demand jobs of today and the future. And Federal Highway has actually put together an office that is trying to do just that and help the states in developing a workforce. The bill calls for making high-quality short-term programs that provide students with a certification or a credential in an in-demand field eligible for Pell Grants. Reforming the Perkins Center and Technical Education Program to ensure more students have access to high-quality technical education, and better targeting federal work-study funds to help more students obtain important workplace experience, including through apprenticeships. And that's pretty much it. I was kind of thinking when I was looking at the agenda about when I started with the state highway department back in Missouri. And we didn't have computers. I was twisting my little lead pencil on Mylar, 2 foot by 4 foot sheets of Mylar. And for you youngsters, ask someone older about Mylar. We had just become the Missouri Highway and Transportation Department because we were the Missouri State Highway Department. So all of our title sheets on these Mylars, we had to take an X-Acto knife and cut out the Missouri State Highway Department and then tape in the Missouri Highway and Transportation Department. We had like 4 and 5 man survey crews. We would rock the rod back and forth to get accurate measurements. It was just amazing. And then I looked at your agenda, and we're going to be talking about unmanned aerial vehicles for surveying, autonomous vehicles. So, remember today, and then 30 years from now, yes, I'm old, look back and think about some of the things that we talked about today, and the future is just amazing. So have a good time today, Enjoy yourself. And again, thank you, DelDot, for the invite.